Hurricane Marcus tore through Clearwater County like a freight train made of wind and fury. The Category 5 storm left nothing in its path untouched. Sarah Mitchell hugged her 3 children in their FEMA trailer, watching the news coverage of what used to be their neighborhood. Their 2-story home was now scattered across 4 city blocks. "Mommy, when can we go home?" asked 6-year-old Tyler, clutching his only surviving toy, a soggy teddy bear. Sarah fought back tears. There was no home to return to. Her husband Mark's construction business was destroyed, along with all his equipment. They had lost everything except each other. The temporary shelter housed 200 families, all facing the same nightmare. Insurance companies were slow to respond, FEMA paperwork seemed endless, and local jobs had vanished with the storm. Children slept on cots, parents whispered worried conversations after dark, and hope seemed as scarce as clean drinking water. Mark returned from another fruitless job search, his shoulders slumped with defeat. "Nothing," he told Sarah quietly. "Every business in town is either destroyed or laying people off." At 42, he had never felt more helpless. His family depended on him, but the storm had stripped away his ability to provide. That evening, Sarah wrote an email she never thought she'd send. "Dear President Trump, Hurricane Marcus took our home, our business, and our hope. We're not asking for miracles, just a chance to rebuild our lives. Please don't let us become forgotten victims of nature's fury." She hit send at midnight, praying someone in Washington would hear their desperate cry for help. 5 days later, Sarah's phone rang with a number she didn't recognize. "Mrs. Mitchell? This is Karen Wells from the White House. President Trump read your email and wants to visit Clearwater County personally. Can you be at the community center tomorrow at 2 p.m.? Sarah nearly dropped her phone. "Are you sure this isn't a mistake?" she stammered. Karen's voice was warm and reassuring. "Ma'am, the president specifically asked to meet families affected by the hurricane. He wants to hear your stories directly." Word spread through the shelter like wildfire. For the first time since Marcus hit, people smiled, laughed, and dared to hope. Children who had been listless began asking if the president would really come see them. Parents who had given up started believing someone important actually cared about their plight. The next afternoon, the presidential motorcade arrived at the community center. Trump stepped out and immediately walked toward the families, not the officials waiting to greet him. He knelt down to Tyler's eye level and said, "Hey, buddy, I heard you've been very brave. Can you show me your teddy bear?" Tyler beamed and introduced his soggy companion. Trump listened seriously to the boy's story of how Teddy had fought the hurricane too. Then he turned to Sarah and Mark, his expression becoming grave and determined. "Tell me what you need," he said simply. Sarah found herself pouring out their story, the destroyed home, the lost business, the uncertain future. Trump listened without interrupting, occasionally nodding or asking clarifying questions. When she finished, he looked directly into her eyes and said words that would change everything. "You're not forgotten. I promise you that." Standing before 200 hurricane survivors in the community center, Trump's voice carried both authority and compassion. "Clearwater County, you've been through hell, but you're still standing. That tells me everything I need to know about who you are. You're fighters, and fighters don't quit." He announced immediate federal disaster relief funding, but not the usual bureaucratic maze families had been warned about. "Emergency funds will be available in your bank accounts within 48 hours, he declared. "No more forms, no more waiting, no more sleeping in trailers while Washington shuffles papers." But Trump went beyond government aid. He made phone calls right there, securing commitments from national construction companies to provide materials at cost. He arranged for job placement programs to bring work opportunities to displaced residents. Most importantly, he promised that federal agencies would fast-track all rebuilding permits. Mark couldn't believe what he was hearing when Trump addressed him personally. Mark, I understand you're a contractor. How would you like to oversee the reconstruction of this entire county? Full federal contractor rates, and we'll provide all the equipment you need to rebuild your business. For Sarah, Trump had a special message. Your email saved this community. Sometimes it takes one brave voice to wake up the world. He handed her a direct phone number. If any federal agency gives you the runaround, you call me personally. That's not just talk, that's a promise. As Trump prepared to leave, he made one final commitment that would echo through the disaster zone. 60 days from now, I'll be back. When I return, Clearwater County will be stronger and more beautiful than it ever was before. 60 days later, Sarah Mitchell stood in the doorway of her new home, larger, safer, and built to withstand future storms. Solar panels gleamed on the roof, the foundation was reinforced concrete, and every window was rated for hurricane-force winds. Across the street, her neighbors were moving into their own new homes, all part of the most successful disaster recovery in FEMA history. Mark's construction company had grown from one destroyed truck to a fleet of vehicles and 50 employees. He had become the lead contractor for the county's rebuilding effort, coordinating with federal agencies and private companies in a symphony of reconstruction. I never imagined I'd be running the biggest construction project in the state, he told Sarah over breakfast in their new kitchen. The children attended a brand new school, built with the latest safety features and technology. Tyler, now in first grade, proudly carried his teddy bear to show and tell every week, telling classmates about the day the president came to help us. Their community was more than rebuilt, it was transformed. When Trump's motorcade returned exactly as promised, Clearwater County looked nothing like the disaster zone he had first visited. New businesses lined the main street, families waved from porches of beautiful new homes, and children played in parks that hadn't existed before the hurricane. The transformation was so complete it seemed impossible to believe this thriving community had been in ruins just 2 months earlier. Ladies and gentlemen of Clearwater County, Trump announced at the celebration in the new town square. You didn't just survive Hurricane Marcus, you conquered it. You've shown America that when government works for the people and communities support each other, we can overcome anything nature throws at us. Sarah had the honor of presenting Trump with a key to the city, but more importantly, she got to introduce him to Tyler's class at the new school. As the president listened patiently to first graders' hurricane stories and recovery dreams, Sarah reflected on how one desperate email had transformed not just her family's life, but an entire community's future. That evening, as Sarah tucked Tyler into bed in his new room, he asked, "Mommy, why did the president help us?" Sarah smiled and smoothed his hair. Because sometimes, sweetie, when good people have the power to help, they choose to use it. And that's what makes America special.